Hello. How are y'all doing? It's been a minute. Now, am I Lavender Jones or am I Jamie dressed up as Lavender Jones? That's a good question. I thought I'd have a little fun and dress up as Lavender Jones today. I want to say thank you so much to Jay Thompson for having me on Jay's Jamfest. I'm a little nervous following after Rory. Rory Penland's actually the one who did this painting of me, and one of my dear friends got it for me. So I thought I'd have a little fun and show off Rory's painting while I was at it. I'm not going to be singing. I'm not going to be playing guitar maybe one of these days. But I thought that I would have a little fun on here and read some Edgar Allan Poe because I'm a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe. And if I have time, I will try to read some Sleepy Hollow for you all. So I'm a little nervous and I'm out of breath. Gosh, I cleaned my dog pen earlier. It was a mess. And I'm allergic to hay, and we have to put hay out for her because it's going to get cold here in Georgia pretty soon. Imagine that. So I'm going to read, of course, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I do not own the rights to this poem. It is done by the master himself, Edgar Allan Poe. I am a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe, but I have to tell you, out of everything that is in that realm, Sleepy Hollow is my favorite Halloween type thing. I love Sleepy Hollow. Anything that has to do with Sleepy Hollow, I'm a huge fan. And then for people who know me, know that I also like Frankenstein. I don't know who the Facebook user is, but I love you too, and thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody who's watching, and I hope I don't run y'all off. I hope you weren't expecting Lavender Jones, my cousin. She's gonna have a show eventually, whenever she gets around to it. Who knows when she'll get around to it? Hey, Madeline. Okay, it says you're a Facebook user, but cool. I'm glad that you're here. And thank you to anybody who's watching me and my crazy self. Like I said, thank you so much to Jay Thompson for inviting me to Jay's Jam Fest. He knows that I'm a huge fan of Halloween, and I really appreciate him inviting me so I get a chance to dress up and have fun with you all. I wish that I sung, and I wish that I could play guitar. I'm really rusty at playing the guitar. I need to get back into it. I plan on getting back into it. I'm entering a songwriting contest where you fill in the lyrics of, I'm not going to tell you which musician it is, but yeah. I'm going to be trying to enter that contest and trying to finish some lyrics in a song of his. It would be awesome if I won, but let's see. Anyways, enough chit chat. Without further ado, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. This is a very long one, so I'm going to get a sippy sip of water, some little bit of ASMR for you here. Sippy sippy. Okay. Here we go. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore. For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. and the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more. Deep into the darkness, peering long I stood, there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." Then this I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhere louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what threat is this, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of saintly days of yore. Not the least absence made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the consonants it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though it answered little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Never more." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs once burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I willed a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking with this ominous bird of yore. What is this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, an ominous bird of yore, meant in croaking, "Nevermore"? This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamp light gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamp light gloating o'er. She shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphine, whose footfalls tinkled on the tuft floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and repent from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind theme, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still. If bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, tell this so with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word or sign of parting bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie that soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quiet the bust above my door. Take thy beak from my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow off the floor. Throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out thy shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Whew. Whew. Okay. I think I need a sip after that. Hello. It says there's another Facebook user on here. I'm not sure who you are, but thank you for being here. I didn't mess that up too terribly, I hope. Gosh, that's a long poem. It's always hard to read that poem, especially if you're infamous for mispronouncing things. It's pretty terrible. I'm sorry that I am sipping in front of you. Whew. Whew, I am hot and flustered after that one. Good gosh. I'm going to take a little bit of a breather if y'all don't mind. I hope y'all are doing well. And wow, Rory Pinland and everybody who's been on Jay's Jamfest today has really, really brought their A game. They've done an amazing job. And then you have me. You have me. Oh, you are a Facebook user. Okay. Hello, Facebook user, then. I am Jamie as Lavender Jones and not Lavender Jones, but I'm Jamie, if you can figure that one out. I hope y'all are having a good night, and I hope I don't run too many people off with my crazy poetry readings. It's Edgar Allan Poe. I wanted to do Edgar Allan Poe. Maybe next year I'll have the guts to play some music on my guitar for you all. It has been a very, very long time, way too long in my opinion. I have been away from the guitar for, well, let's see. My daughter is going to be 13 next month. So I've been away from the guitar for probably about 14 years. And that is really, really sad. Really, really sad. Let me get another sip before I read this next poem. I was actually nervous to be on the program today. I don't know why. Don't know why. I'm always nervous, I guess. Hello, Sandy. Stuart, I'm glad you're here. I guess that you're the Facebook user. I'm just happy to have you all here. Thank you so much. Hopefully I don't mispronounce anything. I apologize because we all know that I'm infamous for that. So this next poem is by Edgar Allan Poe, of course, and it is called Annabel Lee, another one of my favorite ones. It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sculpture in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in my sculpture there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. That was Annabel Lee, one of my favorite poems by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm getting out of breath trying to read these poems, and I'm probably mispronouncing things. I apologize. So, yes, I hope y'all are doing well. Hope you're enjoying this show. And yeah. So here we go. I don't know. I didn't really look over this before I was going to read it. So I apologize. I haven't had much practice. But here we go. We're going to give it a go. We can always rewind, right? If I mispronounce something, I can rewind. I can say, let's try that again. I shouldn't be nervous, but I am very nervous. I don't know why. It's so weird. This comes from, if you want to read it yourself, and not have me read it to you, you can read this on poemuseum.org. And if I have time, I will try to read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow for you all, because like I had said, for those of you who weren't here, anything that has to do with Sleepy Hollow, I am all about. I love Sleepy Hollow. It is my absolute favorite. A lot of you know that I love Frankenstein, but a lot of you did not know that I am a huge fan of anything that has to do with Sleepy Hollow. So here we go. This comes from the poemuseum.org, and it is The Telltale Heart. So viewer discretion, listener discretion is advised. This is a little bit rough, I guess you would say. And here we go. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am, but why will you say that I am mad? The disease and sharpened my sentences, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Mad men know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, and with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening, so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously. Cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye, and this I did for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man, indeed, to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door, little by little, not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch, with a thick of darkness, for the shutters were closed, fastened through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily. I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening. And the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of a mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief. Oh, no. It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it was swelled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo. The terrors that distracted me, I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise. When he had turned in the bed, his fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor. Or is it merely a cricket which has made a single chirp?" Yes, he has been trying to comfort himself with these suspicions, but he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before, and enveloped the victim. It was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot from out the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue with a hideous veil over it, and chilled like the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. And now have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over acuteness of the senses? Now I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say louder, every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous. So I am. And now at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still, but the beating grew louder and louder. I thought the heart must burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the walls. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs, and then I took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber, and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, nor stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. Ha ha. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chattered of familiar things. But ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. But still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained defensiveness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale. I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. What could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles. In a high key and with violent gesticulations, the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men. But the noise steadily increased. Oh, God! What could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, louder, and louder, and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God! No, they heard. They suspected. They knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think, but anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now, again, hark! Louder, 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 louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here. It is the beating of this hideous heart. That was Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. I hope you all enjoyed that. Whew, I'm going to get another drink because it is really, really hard to read these. Really, really hard. And it looks like I still have quite a few minutes. So I'm going to try to look up Sleepy Hollow for you all, but I'm going to take a quick little break and chit chat with you all if that's okay. So, hey, Dennis and David and Madeline and everybody else who's here. I hope you have been enjoying hearing me not do such a great job with Edgar Allan Poe, but I'm making a go of it. I'm trying. Let's see if I can find the Sleepy Hollow story for you all. I found it earlier and I should have had it pulled up. I'm really, really sorry. I'm not very well prepared, I guess. Hopefully I don't accidentally hit the video on this. I'm about out of water. Goodness gracious. You're awesome, Madeline. Thank you. Thank you to Lorraine or Sandy or whoever the Facebook user is. I don't know. Thank you so much, Dennis. I appreciate it. Hopefully I don't run y'all off with my reading. I should have been better prepared, but with my work schedule, I keep saying this, like this work schedule has been killing me. I'm actually going to have my husband bring me another bottle of water. I'm still here. I'm going to stop the camera real quick, but I am still here. I'll be right back. Give you 1 second. Don't mind me. He's getting it. I'm gesturing for water, and he's like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "Water, please. I need water. So thirsty, and it's hot in here." Thank you. My husband brought me water, y'all, so I can stay hydrated. I should have been better prepared. I'm sorry. All right. So now we're going to do Sleepy Hollow. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I do not own the rights to this story. It's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irvin. And if you want to hear somebody reading it, and it's American stories, you can go to learningenglish.voanews.com/Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. So here we go. And the story, if you go to that website, it is told by Doug Johnson. I'm going to throw that in there. Hello, Facebook user. It just says Facebook user. So hello, thank you for being here. Story time with dinner. This is great. Well, that's good. I'm glad I'm entertaining you all. All right, here we go. The valley known as Sleepy Hollow hides from the world in the high hills of New York State. There are many stories told about the quiet valley, but the story that people believe most is about a man who rides a horse at night. The story says the man died many, many years ago during the American Revolutionary War. His head was shot off. Every night he rises from his burial place, jumps on his horse, and rides through the valley looking for his lost head. Near Sleepy Hollow is a village called Tarrytown. It was settled many, many years ago by people from Holland. The village had a small school and one teacher named Ichabod Crane. Ichabod Crane was a good name for him because he looked like a tall bird, a crane. He was tall and thin like a crane. His shoulders were small, joined two long arms. His head was small too and flat on top. He had big ears, large glassy green eyes, and a long nose. Ichabod did not make much money as a teacher, and although he was tall and thin, he ate like a fat man. To help him pay for his food, he earned extra money teaching young people to sing. Every Sunday after church, Ichabod taught singing. Among the ladies Ichabod taught was one named Katrina Van Tassel. She was the only daughter of a rich Dutch farmer. She was a girl in bloom, much like a round, red, rosy apple. Ichabod had a soft and foolish heart for the ladies and soon found himself interested in Miss Van Tassel. Ichabod's eyes opened wide when he saw the riches of Katrina's farm. The miles of apple trees and wheat fields and hundreds of fat farm animals. He saw himself as a master of the Van Tassel farm with Katrina as his wife. But there were many problems blocking the road to Katrina's heart. One was a strong young man named Brom Van Brunt. Brom was a hero to all the young ladies. His shoulders were big, his back was wide, and his hair was short and curly. He always won the horse races in Tarrytown and earned many prizes. Brom was never seen without a horse. Sometimes, late at night, Brom and his friends would rush through town shouting loudly from the backs of their horses. Tired old ladies would awaken from their sleep and say, "Why, there goes Brom Van Brunt, leading the wild group again." Such was the enemy of Ichabod. Had to defeat Katrina's heart. Stronger and wiser men would not have tried. But Ichabod had a plan. He could not fight his enemy in the open, so he did it silently and secretly. He made many visits to Katrina's farm and made her think he was helping her to sing better. Time passed, and the town people thought Ichabod was winning. Brom's horse was never seen at Katrina's house on Sunday nights anymore. One day in autumn, Ichabod was asked to come to a big party at the Van Tassel home. He dressed in his best clothes. A farmer loaned him an old horse for the long trip to the party. The house was filled with farmers and their wives, red-faced daughters, and clean-washed sons. The tables were filled with different things to eat. Wine filled many glasses. Brom Van Brunt rode to the party on his fastest horse called Daredevil. All the young ladies smiled happily when they saw him. Soon music filled the rooms and everyone began to dance and sing. Ichabod was happy dancing with Katrina as Brom looked at them with a jealous heart. The night passed, the music stopped, and the young people sat together to tell stories about the Revolutionary War. Soon stories about Sleepy Hollow were told. The most feared story was about the rider looking for his lost head. One farmer told how he raced the headless man on a horse. The farmer ran his horse faster and faster. The horseman followed over bush and stone until they came to the end of the valley. There, the headless horseman suddenly stopped. Gone were his clothes and his skin. All that was left was a man with white bones shining in the moonlight. The stories ended and time came to leave the party. Ichabod seemed very happy until he said goodnight to Katrina. Was she ending their romance? He left feeling very sad. Had Katrina been seeing Ichabod just to make Brom Van Brunt jealous so he would marry her? Well, Ichabod began his long ride home on the hills that surrounded Tarrytown. He had never felt so lonely in his life. He began to whistle as he came close to the tree where a man had been killed years ago by rebels. He thought he saw something white move in the tree, but no, it was only the moonlight shining and moving on the tree. Then he had heard a noise. His body shook. He kicked his horse faster. The old horse tried to run, but almost fell in the river. Instead, Ichabod hit the horse again. The horse ran faster and then suddenly stopped, almost throwing Ichabod towards the ground. There, in the dark woods on the side of the river, where the bushes grow low, stood an ugly thing, big and black. It did not move, but seemed ready to jump like a giant monster. Ichabod's hair stood straight up. It was too late to run, and in his fear he did the only thing he could. His shaking voice broke the silent valley. "Who are you?" The thing did not answer. Ichabod asked again, still no answer. Ichabod's old horse began to move forward. The black thing began to move along the side of Ichabod's horse in the dark. Ichabod made his horse run faster. The black thing moved with them. Side by side, they moved, slowly at first, and not a word was said. Ichabod felt his heart sink. Up a hill they moved, above the shadow of the trees. For a moment the moon shone down, and to Ichabod's horror he saw it was a horse, and it had a rider. But the rider's head was not on his body. It was in the front of the rider, resting on the horse. Ichabod kicked and hit his old horse, with all his power, and they rushed through the bushes and trees across the valley of Sleepy Hollow. Up ahead was the old church bridge, where the headless horseman stops and returns to his burial place. If only I can get there first, I'm safe, thought Ichabod. He kicked his horse again. The horse jumped on the bridge and raced over it like the sound of thunder. Ichabod looked back to see if the headless man had stopped. He saw the man pick up his head and throw it with a powerful force. The head hit Ichabod in the face and knocked him off of his horse to the dirt below. They found Ichabod's horse the next day, peacefully eating grass. They could not find Ichabod. They walked all across the valley. They saw the footmarks of Ichabod's horse as it had raced through the valley. They even found Ichabod's old hat in the dust near the bridge, but they did not find Ichabod. The only other thing they found was lying near Ichabod's hat. It was the broken pieces of a round orange pumpkin. The town people talked about Ichabod for many weeks. They remembered the frightening stories of the valley and finally came to believe that the headless horseman had carried Ichabod away. Much later, an old farmer returned from a visit to New York City, and he said he was sure he saw Ichabod there. He thought Ichabod silently left Sleepy Hollow because he had lost Katrina. And as for Katrina, her mother and father gave her a big wedding when she married Brom Van Brunt. Many people who went to the wedding saw that Brom smiled whenever Ichabod's name was spoken, and they wondered why he laughed out loud if anyone talked about the broken orange pumpkin found lying near Ichabod's old dusty hat. And that was Sleepy Hollow. I hope you all enjoyed that. Spooky. Sharing is caring. Yes, sharing is caring. I have a few more minutes. What am I to do? Drink water? I don't know. So how are you all doing? Anybody have any Halloween plans? We could chit-chat for a few minutes, right? I kind of have Halloween plans. Somebody made an angry face. I don't know why you're making an angry face. I'm sorry if I made you angry. Yeah, I'm going to take Willow out trick-or-treating. She is dressing up for Halloween. She's dressing up in the House Hufflepuff. House Hufflepuff for Halloween. You want candy. Facebook user wants candy. I don't have any candy. I'm sorry. Is that why there's an angry face? Because I don't have candy? I'm sorry. Yeah, Willow's dressing up as House Hufflepuff for Halloween. She's going to be turning 13 next month, so this is probably her last time trick-or-treating, but nothing's to say that she can't dress up in costumes and we can watch scary movies. Let's see. Spooky poems. Maybe I can do a couple of poems. I've already did The Raven. The Haunted Palace. Let's see. The Haunted Palace is a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know if I want to read any more Edgar Allan Poe. Those are tongue twisters. Whoo! Halloween poems. Here we go. I might have a few minutes for a Halloween poem. The Witch. There you go. There's one called The Witch, and this is by Elizabeth Willis, and you can find it on poetryfoundation.com. And like I said, I do not own the rights to this poem. It's done by Elizabeth Willis. A witch can charm milk from an axe handle. A witch bewitches a man's shoe. A witch sleeps naked. Witch ointments on the back will allow you to fly through the air. A witch carries the 4 of clubs in her sleeve. A witch may be sickened at the scent of roasting meat. A witch will neither sink nor swim. When crushed, a witch's bones will make a fine glue. A witch will pretend not to be looking at her own image in a window. A witch will gaze wistfully at the glitter of a clear night. A witch may take the form of a cat in order to sneak into a good man's chamber. A witch's breast will be pointed rather than round, as discovered in the trials of the 1950s. A powerful witch may cause a storm at sea. With a glance, she will make rancid the fresh butter of her righteous neighbor. Even our fastest dogs cannot catch a witch hare. A witch has been known to cry out while her husband places inside her the image of a child. A witch may be burned for trying knots in a marriage bed. A witch may produce no child for years at a time. A witch may speak a foreign language to no one in particular. She may appear to frown when she believes she is smiling. If her husband dies unexpectedly, she may refuse to marry his brother. Has been known to weep at the sight of her own child. She may appear to be acting in a silent film whose fight cards are missing. In Hollywood, the sky is made of tin, which makes her own world of air, and then fire, and then the planets of cardboard, then ink, and then compass, which desires and then to be carried or pushed in a cart. When walking, a witch will turn suddenly and pretend to look at something very small. The happiness of an entire house may be ruined by a witch hair touching a metal cross. The devil does not speak to a witch, he only moves his tongue. An executioner may find the body of a witch insensitive to an iron spike. An unrepentant witch may be converted with a little lead in the eye. Enchanting witch powder may be hidden in a girl's hair. When a witch is hungry, she can make a soup by stirring water with her hand. I've heard of poor women changing herself into a pigeon. At times, a witch will seem to struggle against an unknown force stronger than herself. She will know things she has not seen with her eyes. She will have opinions about distant cities. A witch may cry out sharply at the sight of a known criminal dying of thirst. She finds it difficult to overcome the sadness of the last war. A nightmare is witch work. The witch elm is sometimes referred to as all heart, as in she was thrown into a common chest of witch elm. When a witch desires something that is not hers, she will slip it into her glove. An overwhelming power compels her to take something from a rich man's shelf. I have personally known a nervous young woman who often walks in her sleep. Isn't there something witch-like about a sleepwalker who wanders through the house with matches? The skin of a real witch makes a delicate binding for a book of common prayer. When all the witches in your town have been set on fire, their smoke will fill their mouths. It will teach you new words. It will tell you what you've done. Well, that was an interesting poem. There you go. Oh, wow. Yeah. I only have a few minutes left. So anybody have any Halloween plans? Like I said, I'm going to take my daughter trick-or-treating. We do trunk or treat here. You still buy 2 bags of candy tomorrow for yourself? Yes. Yes. Candy is needed. That was a very wild poem. I should have read it before I read it to you all. Live and learn, right? I'm a good witch, by the way. I'm not a bad witch. I'm not like the witch that was in that poem. I don't know why I'm so thirsty. I think it's because I'm burning up. Cleaned my dog's pen. I'm allergic to hay, and now I have allergies going on. So if I can shamelessly plug on Jay's Jamfest, I hope that that's okay. My show belongs to the shadows. I will have a special edition of that on Halloween, but it will not be shown on Cosmos Creative Television until a later date because I don't want to interfere with whatever programming is happening on Halloween on Cosmos. So you'll be able to catch it in Star Raven Studios group on Facebook and Star Raven Studios YouTube channel. I'm trying really hard to get more people in Star Raven Studios group because, my passion is to promote all creatives. I think that that's really, really important. I like to have a group like Cosmos, where everybody is invited. Everybody should be, they should feel comfortable sharing their creativity, whether you're an artist or you're a musician or you're a poet, like whatever your creativity is, all are welcome in Cosmos as well as Star Raven Studios. I started Star Raven Studios as a passion project because I do have a degree in mass communications, emphasis in recording technologies. So I don't know anything but artwork. I don't know anything but poetry or music. That's all that I know, and that's all that I've grown up with is doing artwork. Um, I'm hoping to start doing makeup. I want to start doing makeup videos on TikTok, so I might have some scary makeup so that I can try to get more people to my TikTok channel, because I do have a TikTok channel, and I have exciting news about the TikTok channel. It kind of took me off guard the other day, and since I have a few minutes, I guess I can chat with you all because I don't have any other scary poems. I should have been more prepared. I'm so sorry, guys, guys and gals. But I entered this contest for one of my favorite musicians, Kelsey Carter. I did get to see her perform with Billy Idol, which was incredible. It was amazing. One of the best concerts that I have ever been to in my life. And that's considering that I've been to a Motionless in White concert, and we all know how much I love Motionless in White. But I also love Kelsey Carter. She's having a contest, and I entered the contest, and I put a video up on TikTok, including some of the photos that I took of Kelsey Carter at the Kelsey Carter concert. And she liked the video, so that was pretty exciting. I was on a natural high all day long after seeing that. It was incredible. But yeah, Belongs to the Shadows is going to have a special episode on Halloween. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about yet. If any of you have any suggestions, feel free to leave it in the comments. Sleepy Hollow, I might do Sleepy Hollow again. Might do some Edgar Allan Poe again, but it just depends. I might do Werewolf Lore. Werewolf Lore was very, very popular last year. I got quite a few views on that video, so I might do Werewolf Lore. Speaking of Sleepy Hollow, there are Sleepy Hollow movies that you can catch. One of my favorite Sleepy Hollow movies is with Johnny Depp. I absolutely love the Johnny Depp version with Christina Ricci and Christopher Walken. If you have not seen that, please do so, because it is an incredible, incredible version of Sleepy Hollow. Speaking of Motionless in White, they do have a Sleepy Hollow song, and they sing about Katrina, and they sing about the Headless Horseman, and it's a really, really awesome song. So check that out. I don't know who's up next. I did not want to mispronounce their name. They're an amazing act, amazing talent, I'm sure. And again, I want to say thank you so much, Jay, for inviting me to do this. I've had a lot of fun chatting with you all. And until next time, love, hugs, and blessings. And have a great night and stay safe. Have fun on Halloween, but stay safe.